Hey guys, so Sweetrobin loves stories. Let's make Sweetrobin happy and produce a bit of fan fiction for him. Here's the deal. Do you like to write? Do you like Ice and Fire? Then I have the project for you. The Sweetrobin Fan Fiction Project. Here's what's going down. I'm going to give a basic outline for a fan fiction The Winds of Winter chapter. If you feel inclined, write the chapter, or if you're feeling lazy, write half a chapter, trying your best to write in the writing style of The Winds of Winter, and submit your chapter to the email address sweetrobinsfanfictionproject@gmail.com. The address will be in the description. I will take the best chapters, edit them, merge them, cannibalize them, add to them, whatever, and produce a crowdsourced final product that will be released into the public domain. I will also narrate the finished product. All contributors will be credited in whatever way they choose and will get a shout out from me. Please do not be protective of your creation. This is a collaborative process. So what goes into a fanfiction chapter? Well, first off, the chapter should be between 4,000 and 7,000 words. The series average is 5,145. And though you have a bit of freedom on structure, keep in mind that most The Winds of Winter chapters begin in the middle of the action in a new environment, then flash back to how they got there, and then build towards a climax with a surprise ending that is somewhat of a cliffhanger. And as you know, the writing style is somewhat poetic, but not overly poetic, and a little old-timey, but not too old-timey. I'm not sure if that's very helpful. But again, you have the freedom with this. Write what you want, but I'm going to give a fairly detailed outline on the events that should take place. If you feel strongly that things should be different, please write that and explain it. And let's try to get these chapters done by, March 26th. So the fanfiction chapter that we're starting with is Daenerys won the Winds of Winter. The basic outline of this chapter is that Daenerys has been captured by Jhaqo and has been brought to Vaes-Dothrak, where she is essentially a prisoner among the Dosh Khaleen. Weeks have passed for her, and she is dealing with the isolation and recovering from her wounds and sickness, and she's currently hobbling around on a crutch with a healing broken ankle. This chapter is very much a parallel to Cersei in her prison and Aeron in his prison, so we want a similar mood to start. One should then flash back to how Daenerys got there, Drogon abandoning her in the Dothraki Sea, and her capture by Jhaqo, and his cruel treatment after that. I think two important things should happen on the trip to Vaes-Dothrak. First, Dany should start out naked on foot, chained by the throat and wrists to Jhaqo's horse, paralleling the wine cellar and Cersei's walk of shame, and eventually she would fall and be dragged, suffering injury. Second, after Dany breaks her ankle and cannot walk, she is put in a cart and called Khaleesi Regat, Cart Queen. In this part, we want to know how utterly painful it would be to be tied up for weeks with a broken ankle or rib or both, while suffering from diarrhea and dehydration. I also think it would be interesting maybe to have Dany have her ear cut off by Blood Rider Mago mirroring Myrcella losing an ear and calling back to what the Dothraki wanted to do to Viserys in a Game of Thrones. Once we flash back to the present, the Dosh Khaleen need to act like Cersei's septas, sour and bitter. They've spent their lives in Vaes-Dothrak upholding tradition, and Dany went against everything they believe. They warn her that Cal Pono and the other Cals are on their way, and she must repent and beg for forgiveness from the Dosh Khaleen, vowing to take her place amongst them. Yes, this return of the Khals happened in the show, but this was actually a Chekhov's gun in a Game of Thrones. Vaes-Dothrak can house all Dothraki, and will house them as prophesized. While awaiting the return of the Khals, Dany should have a conversation with the one-eyed crone from a Game of Thrones, who reveals that she conspired with Jorah Mormont to say that Dany's child would be the stallion that mounts the world. The one-eyed crone, it turns out, is the grandmother of Khal Motho, and she believed that it was only a matter of time before Khal Drogo slaughtered his Khalasar. Jorah promised that Drogo would march east towards the Jade Sea and never trouble her again, and that's why she said that the milkmen would fear the stallion. She meant the milkmen of Qarth. This conspiracy is supposed to parallel the supposed Littlefinger-Olenna Tyrell scheme against Joffrey. But she mentions quite bitterly that Cal Pono has taken Drogo's place and has killed Khal Motho. Later, Dany should be visited by Khal Jomo and Khal Moro, along with Moro's son Rogaro. The three men explain that the Khals are returning because Cal Pono has married the daughter of Khal Zeko and have merged their Khalasars. After Pono slaughtered Khal Motho's Khalasar to the man, Jhaqo knew he was done and agreed to the match, stepping down as Cal. Pono's bride is pregnant, and they seek the Dosh Khalin's wisdom on the sacking of Volantis. Dany wonders what Jomo and Moro want from her, and they explain that Cal's give slaves, Giscari give gifts, but now gifts from the south have stopped, save Yunkai, who give to Cal Jhaqo. It's difficult for Cal Jomo and Moro to buy Erex, salt, pots, etc. at the eastern and western markets, and now the west is dominated by Cal Pono, who grows bolder and more powerful every day, taking all of the spoils. Their Khalasars are shrinking, but if Dany renounces her claim to Meereen, forsakes her dragon and cuts off her braid to present to the Meereenese, they will convince Cal Pono to let her live. Dany reluctantly agrees, and they cut off her hair. She then asks if the men knew of Jorah's conspiracy with the Dosh Khalin, and Moro admits that yes, the fat Pantashi had promised that Drogo would march east, and in return, Moro agreed not to seek gifts from the free cities for 5 years. Jomo had agreed to the same. Rogoro adds that he never thought that the fat Pantashi should have been trusted. He mentions that it was known that the Pantashi's iron coward, Jorah Mormont, was paying wine sellers in the western market with Pantashi silver to serve strong wine to Cal Rhagat, Viserys, and that Dany's Lyseni whore, Doria, was actually a spy for him, or so the rumors said. After the cutting of her braid and submitting to the Dosh Khalin, Dany is given some more freedom but cannot go very far on her ankle. She sees the arrival of Cal Pono, donning the dragon bone bow of Aggo. She learns that Aggo, Rakaro, and their riders were found and killed by Pono's Khalasar. Later there is a ceremony with Pono and Zekko's robust daughter that is very similar to Dany's ceremony from Daenerys 5 A Game of Thrones. Dany sits defeated, broken ankle, earless, braidless, among the Dosh Khalin looking like a corpse. Zekko's daughter easily eats the horse heart, and the one-eyed crone declares favorable battle against Volantis. That evening they travel to the womb of the world. Cal Jhaqo, Cal Jomo, Cal Moro, the former Cal Zekko, and the Blood Riders, namely Mago, are all in the procession. Daenerys is brought by cart. Zekko's robust daughter washes off her blood, returns to the shore, and she and Pono begin to have sex. While the Dosh Khalin begin to talk amongst themselves, Dany is able to get up and limp into the lake. She lies down and floats. While floating, she wonders about Meereen, her dead friends, whether this is the rest of her life. She has a trippy vision, red door, dragons, quaith, that sort of stuff. Then she thinks of Eroweh, and suddenly there is an enormous splash. Dany's dragon, Drogon, is in the lake. He puts his head under Dany, and she rides him out with Drogon spewing fire. Flames engulf Pono and the daughter as the Dosh Khalin panic and run into the lake away from fire. Most everyone else runs for the horses, with Drogon then taking out Jomo, Moro, and Zekko. Cal Jhaqo and Mago and a few other Blood Riders are able to make it to their horses and begin to ride off into the night. Drogon and Dany fly after them, but she does not burn them, and instead Drogon hits them with his legs. Jhaqo and Mago fall from their horses, breaking bones. They scream, begging for a Jhaqaran, that is, for a mercy man, but Dany leaves them to die a suffering death in a parallel to Arya and the Hound. And then Dany returns to the womb of the world to find the Dosh Khalin creeping out of the water, and then they bow their heads to her. The House of the Undying vision is fulfilled. So yeah, that's my outline. Let's give this a shot. It'll be fun to see the results. Anyway, thanks for listening to this, and we'll see you next time.